My name is Cora Clark, and I'm 28 years old. This past weekend, my parents made me cook and clean for my sister's birthday party, 50 guests, the entire weekend, completely alone. I prepped food for 3 days straight, barely slept, and by Saturday afternoon I was so exhausted I could barely stand. When I finally asked my mother for help, she didn't just say no. She laughed. Then, in front of a room full of guests, she said, "You're the only one without a real job. You have the time." What my mother didn't know was that I'd just signed a contract worth more than my sister makes in a year. And what none of them knew was that my new CEO was standing in that room, listening to every single word. Before I tell you what happened when I set down the dishes and walked out, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story truly speaks to you. Drop your location and local time in the comments. Here's how one weekend changed everything. It started 2 weeks before Madison's party, with a text from my mother at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Madison's birthday is coming up. She's very busy with her big case, so you'll handle everything. 50 guests. I'll send you the details." Not a question, a directive. I stared at my phone, sitting in my tiny apartment surrounded by 3 monitors displaying the brand concept I'd been refining for Meridian Corporation. The initial presentation was in 4 days. I'd been working 16-hour days for a week straight, barely sleeping, living on coffee, and the kind of focused intensity that happens when you know you're creating something extraordinary. I typed back, "Mom, I'm in the middle of a major project. Can we talk about—" Her response came before I could finish. "Honey, you work from home. You have flexibility. Madison is in court all week and has partner review coming up. This is what family does." There it was. That word. Flexibility. It was her code for, "Your work doesn't matter as much as Madison's." This wasn't new. Last Christmas I'd cooked for 23 people while Madison mingled with relatives, accepting compliments on her career. At her law school graduation, I designed and printed 200 programs, stayed up all night making centerpieces, and arrived at the ceremony to hear my father tell someone, "Madison organized all of this herself. Such a capable girl." When I'd quietly mentioned I'd helped, Mom had patted my hand. "Well, you had time to help, didn't you?" I looked at the Meridian email sitting in my inbox. Subject line, "Final review meeting, Thursday 2 p.m. Prepare for executive board." I had 4 days to perfect a presentation that could change my entire career. But I texted back, "Okay, send me the details," because that's what I always did. The grocery list arrived at midnight. 3 pages. Appetizers for 50, a full dinner menu, and a dessert spread that required ingredients from 4 different stores. At the bottom, "Madison wants everything elegant but approachable. You know what I mean. Thanks, sweetie." Wednesday, I drove to 3 grocery stores before my workday even started. The Meridian presentation was tomorrow, and I still hadn't finalized the color palette for their brand guidelines. Thursday morning, I was on a Zoom call with Meridian's executive team, presenting my concept while downstairs, ingredients for 50 people sat in my parents' refrigerator, waiting. The CEO, Christopher Hayes, appeared on screen for the first time. Mid-50s, sharp suit, the kind of presence that makes everyone sit up straighter. "Ms. Clark," he said, studying my presentation with genuine interest, "this brand narrative is exceptional. You've captured exactly what we've been trying to articulate for 3 years." "Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I'm going to be in your city this weekend. Family obligation. We should meet in person to discuss the contract details." My heart jumped. "I'd love that, but I have a family commitment Saturday." "Sunday, then?" "Saturday is— it's all day. My sister's birthday party." "Ah," he smiled. "Family comes first. I respect that. Actually, I'll be seeing an old college friend Saturday, Robert Clark. Any relation?" The room seemed to tilt. "That's my father." Small world. Well, perhaps I'll see you there. The call ended. I sat staring at my screen, trying to process what had just happened when my phone buzzed. Madison. "Did you get organic eggs? The regular ones make the souffle taste cheap. I hadn't even known she wanted souffle. Nobody had asked if I could make souffle. Saturday morning, 7 a.m. I'd been in my parents' kitchen since 6, prepping vegetables, marinating meat, setting up the coffee service. Madison came downstairs at 10 in silk pajamas, her hair in rollers. "Morning?" she said, pouring herself coffee from the pot I'd made. She frowned at the menu list on the counter. "Actually, I forgot to tell you, 3 of my guests are keto. Can you do something without carbs?" I looked at the lasagna I'd assembled at midnight. "Madison, I bought all the ingredients based on your menu." "I know, but Mrs. Patterson is really important. She's deciding on partner promotions next month." She said it like I was being difficult. "You're creative. Just improvise something." "I need to go buy different groceries then." "Great. Can you also grab champagne?" "The good stuff, not that Prosecco Mom drinks." She left before I could respond. Mom appeared in the doorway. "You're not dressed yet? Guests start arriving at 2. "I'm cooking, Mom. I'll change before they get here." "Well, don't take too long. You know how you get distracted." She grabbed her purse. "I'm going to help Madison get ready. Oh, and the bathrooms need cleaning. The cleaning lady canceled." She was gone before I could point out that I'd been working since 6 a.m. At noon, I was running to the grocery store for keto ingredients, still wearing the clothes I'd slept in. At 1:30, I was back in the kitchen, assembling a last-minute caprese salad while the main course simmered. At 1:45, I heard laughter from upstairs. Madison and Mom, doing her makeup, music playing. At 2 p.m., the doorbell rang. I was elbow-deep in raw chicken, my hair in a messy bun, wearing an apron splattered with tomato sauce. 50 guests were about to arrive, and I hadn't even showered. By 3 p.m., the house was full of people I didn't know, wearing clothes I couldn't afford, discussing careers I wasn't part of. I moved through them like a ghost, refilling drinks, collecting plates, retreating to the kitchen every few minutes to check timers and stir pots. In the bathroom, the only place I could lock a door, I finally looked at my phone. 7 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. A voicemail from Sarah Chen, Christopher Hayes' assistant. "Ms. Clark, Mr. Hayes would like to confirm Sunday's meeting to finalize your contract. Please call back at your earliest convenience. He's very eager to move forward." Contract. The word hung in my head as I washed my hands and returned to a kitchen full of dirty dishes. This wasn't new, I realized. This exact feeling. Invisible. Interchangeable. Useful only for what I could provide. At my college graduation, I'd been the one taking photos of Madison with our parents, even though we'd walked the same day. Madison's degree was in pre-law. Mine was in design. Different levels of achievement, Dad had said, not unkindly, just stating what he believed was fact. When I'd gotten my first freelance client, a local business paying me $3,000 for a logo, I'd excitedly told them at dinner. Madison had gotten a summer internship at a law firm the same week. Unpaid. "That's great, honey," Mom had said to me. Then, turning to Madison, "An internship at Morrison and Hewitt. Do you know how prestigious that is?" My $3,000, which had taken me 2 weeks of intensive work, disappeared into the space between courses. If I stayed quiet now, if I kept being helpful and flexible and available, I would be here forever. The daughter who had time, who could always help, whose work could always wait, because nobody actually believed it was work. I was arranging appetizers when a kind-faced woman in her 60s approached the kitchen. "Dear, these look beautiful. Did Madison hire a caterer?" "No, I made everything." "You did?" Her eyebrows rose. "All of this? Are you a professional chef?" "I'm actually a graphic designer. I'm Madison's sister." "Oh, I'm Sarah Bennett, her colleague's mother." She smiled warmly. "A designer. How wonderful. What kind of design?" Finally, someone asking. "Brand identity, mostly. Corporate rebranding, visual strategy." "Cora, honey," Mom appeared, all bright smiles. "Sarah, I see you've met my daughter. Cora does little freelance projects from home. Very creative." Little freelance projects. Sarah's expression shifted. polite interest cooling to polite dismissal. How nice! Working from home must be so convenient. Mom steered her away, already changing the subject. Let me introduce you to Madison. She's about to make partner at one of the best firms in the state. I stood there holding a tray of bruschetta, invisible again. Then a man's voice behind me. Those look excellent. I turned. Late 50s, expensive suit, holding a gin and tonic. Something about him was familiar, but I couldn't place it. Thank you. You made all of this yourself? Yes. Impressive. He extended his hand. Christopher Hayes. I'm an old college friend of Robert Clark's. We lost touch years ago, but he invited me when I mentioned I'd be in town. My stomach dropped. Christopher Hayes, the CEO of Meridian Corporation, the man who was about to offer me a $240,000 contract, standing in my parents' kitchen, watching me serve appetizers in a sauce-stained apron. You work in design, if I remember correctly. His eyes were kind but searching. I do. What kind? Before I could answer, Mom's voice rang out from the living room. Cora, we need more wine. Excuse me, I said to Hayes, and escaped to the kitchen. My hands were shaking as I opened another bottle of wine. Through the doorway, I could see him drift back to the living room, where Dad greeted him with genuine pleasure. Chris! God, it's been what, 30 years? Closer to 35, Bob. You look well. They fell into easy conversation, old friends reconnecting. Hayes fit seamlessly into the party, successful, polished, exactly the kind of person my parents respected, and he'd just seen me being summoned like a servant. I poured wine into glasses, my mind spinning. The contract meeting was supposed to be tomorrow. Professional, clean. Me in a blazer and heels, presenting my portfolio, discussing terms as equals. Instead, he was watching me work a party, hearing my mother call my career little freelance projects, seeing me covered in food stains while my sister held court in the living room. Would he still want to hire me after this? Through the doorway, I watched Madison laugh with a group of her colleagues, radiant in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Dad's hand rested proudly on her shoulder. My daughter just closed the Henderson merger, he was saying. Youngest attorney to ever lead a case that size at her firm. Polite sounds of admiration rippled through the group. Nobody mentioned that his other daughter had spent 60 hours this week creating a brand identity that a Fortune 500 CEO had called exceptional. I looked at the dirty dishes stacked by the sink, the half-prepped salad, the timer indicating the prime rib needed to come out in 20 minutes, the guests who would expect dessert afterward. I thought, I could keep doing this for the rest of my life, waiting for them to see me. Or I could see myself. I know many of you have been in situations like this, where you work incredibly hard, but the people closest to you can't see it. Where your family treats your achievements as less important than someone else's. If this story is hitting home for you, please hit the like button so I know I'm not alone in this experience. And if you want to see what happens when I finally reach my breaking point, subscribe to the channel. Now, let me tell you about the moment everything started to unravel. The kitchen door swung open so hard it hit the wall. Cora! Madison's voice was sharp, panicked. Where's the main course? I checked the timer. 15 more minutes. It needs to rest before... Mrs. Patterson is asking about dinner. She has theater tickets at 8. It'll be ready at 6:30. That's what we planned. Can't you just take it out now? I turned from the stove. Madison, it's not done. If I pull it now, it'll be raw in the middle. Then figure something else out. Her voice climbed higher. This is important. These are important people. I understand, but meat takes the time it takes. God, Cora. She pressed her fingers to her temples. Why do you always make things so difficult? I'm not making anything difficult. I'm following basic cooking. Just... She stopped, took a breath. Can you bring out the salad course early? Buy us time? The salad was supposed to come after... I don't care what it was supposed to do. Her perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide the stress in her eyes. I need you to solve this. Please. There was something desperate in her voice. Something beyond just a dinner schedule. Is everything okay? I asked quietly. Everything's fine. Everything's perfect. It just needs to stay perfect. She smoothed her dress. Mrs. Patterson is watching me tonight, evaluating. If this party isn't flawless. She didn't finish. Didn't need to. I got it then. The pressure she was under. Partner review. The constant performance. But understanding didn't make it fair. I'll bring out the salad, I said. Thank you. She was already heading back to her guests. And Cora? Maybe smile when you serve. You look a little intense. The door swung shut behind her. I stood there, holding a salad bowl, wondering when serving food in my own family's house had required me to also perform happiness. I found Mom in the hallway directing someone toward the bathroom. Mom, I kept my voice low. I need help. I can't cook and serve and clean up simultaneously. She turned, smile still in place from her conversation. Honey, you're doing fine. I've been working since 6 a.m. I'm exhausted. Well, Madison worked an 80-hour week preparing for her partnership review. She said it gently, like she was explaining something to a child. We all make sacrifices for family. But this is her party. Why am I the only one sacrificing? Her smile tightened. Because you have the time and flexibility. Madison is building a career. So am I. The words came out harder than I intended. A couple passing in the hallway glanced over. Mom's voice dropped to a whisper. Cora, don't do this now. We have guests. I just need someone to help serve so I can finish cooking. I'm hosting. Your father is catching up with Chris Hayes. Madison is with her colleagues. You're the only one who's available. Available? The word tasted bitter. I've been working all week too, Mom. On what? Designing logos? She patted my arm. Sweetie, that's not the same as preparing for a partnership decision. Madison's entire future is riding on. What about my future? A beat of silence. Then Dad appeared, uncomfortable. Everything okay here? Everything's fine, Mom said quickly. Cora's just feeling a little overwhelmed. You're doing great, kiddo, Dad said, not quite meeting my eyes. Just power through. It's almost over. He guided Mom back toward the living room, leaving me standing in the hallway. Through the kitchen door, I could hear a timer beeping. The prime rib. Finally ready. I went to pull it out and found the edge burned black. I'd been gone too long. I was frantically cutting away the burned portions when I heard Mom's laughter from the living room. The kind of performative laugh she used when she wanted everyone to pay attention to what she was saying. You should see Cora's apartment, she was telling someone. Just covered in sketches and fabric samples. She's very creative. Always has been. Warm, affectionate. The voice she used when she was proud. I paused, knife in hand, waiting. We always thought she'd grow out of the art phase, Mom continued. But she's still at it. Freelancing from home, making her little designs on the computer. There it was. Linda, graphic design is a real profession, someone said. I didn't recognize the voice. Oh, of course, I'm sure it is. I just mean it's not like Madison's career path. You know, structured with benefits and retirement plans. Mom's voice carried that particular tone that sounded supportive but wasn't. Cora's always been more of a free spirit. Doesn't want to be tied down to a real job. Several people laughed. Polite, uncomfortable laughter. I stood in the kitchen doorway, still holding the carving knife. Probably 24 people could see me. Mom's back was to the kitchen, so she didn't notice. But Madison did. Our eyes met across the room. She looked away. Where is Cora, anyway? Someone asked. In the kitchen. Where else? Madison said, and the affection in her voice felt like a slap. My sister, always taking care of everyone. More warm laughter, like I was a beloved pet. I saw Christopher Hayes then, standing near the window with my father. His expression was unreadable, but he was watching me. Watching me stand there, in my stained apron, holding a knife, listening to my family casually dismiss everything I'd worked for. I stepped back into the kitchen before anyone could see my face. My phone sat on the counter, screen glowing with a new email. From Sarah Smith, Executive Assistant to CEO. Subject, contract ready for signature. M.S. Clark. Mr. Hayes has approved final contract terms, $240,000 for comprehensive brand development, with option for ongoing retainer. Please confirm Monday 9 a.m. meeting to finalize. $240,000. I stared at the number. More than Madison made in her first year as an associate, more than my parents had ever believed I could earn. Sitting in my inbox while I carved meat in their kitchen, listening to them explain why my career wasn't real. The door burst open again. Madison, cheeks flushed. The meat, now! Mrs. Patterson is leaving in 40 minutes. It needs 5 more minutes to rest, or it'll— I don't care about meat science, Cora, her voice cracked. I need you to bring it out now. Madison, you always do this. Always overthink everything. Always move too slow. I've been working for 12 hours straight. Oh, please, she laughed, sharp and mean. You work from your couch in pajamas. I'm in courtrooms defending actual clients with actual stakes. Something in me went very still. Do you know what I'm working on right now? I don't have time for a contract, a big one. How big? She said it dismissively, already turning to leave. A few thousand? $240,000. She froze, turned back slowly. What? $240,000. Meridian Corporation, full brand development. Her face went white. Meridian? The Meridian? Yes. That's— When did you— I've been negotiating for 3 weeks. The contract's ready. I have a meeting Monday to sign. She stared at me. Really looked at me. Maybe for the first time in years. Then, why didn't you say something? I did say something. My voice was quiet. I told you I was busy. Mom said I was flexible. Madison's mouth opened, closed. I didn't know it was that big. You didn't ask how big it was, you just assumed. But, Meridian. She was processing, recalculating. That's the firm that does all the major corporate rebrandings in the region. They did the Thompson Industries makeover last year. I know. I'm doing their next one. Jesus, Cora. She sat down on the kitchen stool, stunned. That's bigger than most of my cases. Is it? I heard the edge in my own voice. Because 5 minutes ago, you said I work from my couch in pajamas. She flinched. I didn't mean— Yes, you did. Silence between us, broken only by the timer beeping. The meat, finally ready. You're still going to serve it though, right? Madison's voice was smaller now. Mrs. Patterson is still out there. I stared at my sister. Even now, even after learning I'd just secured a contract that would change my entire financial life, she was asking me to serve her dinner party. Please, she added. I know I didn't know. But there are 50 people out there and you need this to go well for your partnership review. Yes. I looked at the perfectly cooked prime rib. At my sister, still beautiful in her designer dress, still desperate for approval from the same people who were casually dismissing me in the next room. Part of me wanted to help her. The same part that always helped, that always accommodated, that always made myself smaller so others could shine. But that part was getting very tired. I'll bring it out, I said finally. But Madison, this is the last time. I carved the meat onto a serving platter, arranged it with the roasted vegetables I'd prepared that morning. Despite everything, it looked beautiful, professional, the kind of presentation that showed care. I carried it out to applause, actual applause, like I was serving at a restaurant. This looks amazing, someone said. Cora, you've outdone yourself, Dad added, beaming. I set the platter down. Nobody said thank you. The applause was for the food, not for me. I turned to go back to the kitchen. Ms. Clark? Christopher Hayes stood in the hallway, away from the main group. Close enough to talk, far enough for privacy. Mr. Hayes, my heart was pounding. I'm sorry about all this. I didn't realize you'd be here. Don't apologize. His voice was kind, but his eyes were sharp, evaluating. I wanted to speak with you briefly if you have a moment. I'm just, I'm helping with the party. I can see that. A pause. I didn't realize the Ms. Clark I've been working with was Bob's daughter. It's a small world. Indeed. He glanced toward the living room, where my parents were serving themselves from the platter. I heard some of the conversation earlier, about your work. My face burned. They don't really understand what I do. That must be difficult. It is what it is. Ms. Clark, Cora, if I may. He leaned slightly closer. I built Meridian from nothing. My family thought I was insane to leave law school for marketing. They didn't speak to me for 2 years. I looked at him, really looked, saw something I recognized. When did they come around? I asked. When I stopped waiting for them to. He smiled, sad and knowing. Your contract is still valid. Monday, 9 a.m.? Yes, absolutely. Good, because your portfolio speaks for itself. A pause. You shouldn't have to prove yourself in your own home. Thank you, I said quietly. That means a lot, especially right now. Hayes nodded toward my parents. Bob was always brilliant with numbers, but terrible at seeing outside his own framework. If it wasn't accounting or law, it didn't quite register as real work to him. That hasn't changed. I imagine not. He paused. Can I tell you something I learned too late? Please. Talented people often get punished for being capable. You're good at cooking, so they ask you to cook. You're flexible, so they assume you have infinite time. You don't complain, so they think you don't mind. His eyes were steady on mine. But capabilities shouldn't be confused with obligations. I felt something loosen in my chest. Someone finally understood. The contract we're offering isn't charity, he continued. You're the best designer we interviewed, by a significant margin. Your work is extraordinary, and I need you to know that before you walk back into that kitchen. I needed to hear that, I whispered. You deserve to hear it. He checked his watch. I should get back to Bob before he thinks I've abandoned him. But Cora, whatever happens tonight, remember, your value doesn't depend on whether they recognize it. He walked back to the living room, leaving me standing in the hallway. Through the kitchen door I could see dirty dishes piling up. Dessert still needed to be plated, coffee to be made, another 3 hours of work at least. From the living room, Mom's voice. Cora, honey, some of us would like coffee. Not, could you make coffee when you have a moment? Just an assumption, an expectation. I looked at my phone. 6:47 p.m. I looked at the kitchen. I thought about what Hayes had said. Capabilities shouldn't be confused with obligations. And something in me shifted. I walked back to the living room. Hayes had rejoined the group, was talking quietly with my father about college days. Mom, what kind of coffee? Oh, just regular for most people, but Mrs. Patterson wants decaf, and Mr. Wilson asked for espresso if we have it. We do have it, don't we? We have a regular coffee maker. Well, can't you run to Starbucks? It's only 10 minutes. I stared at her. You want me to leave the party, drive to Starbucks, and get one person an espresso? If it's too much trouble. Her voice had that edge, the one that meant I was being difficult. I have dessert to plate, and clean up, and… Cora. She pulled me aside, voice low. There are important people here. Madison's future colleagues. Can you please just cooperate? I've been cooperating for 12 hours. Oh, don't be dramatic. She waved her hand. You know what I mean. Madison appeared. Is everything okay? Your sister is making things complicated, Mom said, like I wasn't standing right there. I just asked if we could skip the Starbucks run. Madison's face tightened. It's one coffee, Cora. It's never one thing. The words came out before I could stop them. It's always one more thing. What is that supposed to mean? People were starting to notice. Conversations dropping off. Faces turning our way. Mom's smile was frozen. Cora, honey, let's discuss this later. When? I asked. When would be a good time to discuss how I've been working since 6 a.m.? How nobody asked if I could do this, just told me I would? How I'm missing work calls to make your party perfect. Your work can wait, Mom said, and her voice was sharp now. This is family. The room had gone quiet now, all 50 guests, watching. Family, I repeated. Is that what this is? Cora, Dad's voice warning. Not now. But Mom was already talking, that nervous laugh creeping in. You have to excuse Cora. She gets overwhelmed easily when… I'm not overwhelmed. My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. I'm exhausted. There's a difference. We're all tired, sweetie. Mom looked at the watching faces, performing understanding. But you're the only one who's free enough to… Say it. I don't know where the words came from. Say what you actually mean. Cora, please. You think I'm free because my work doesn't count. You think I have time because what I do isn't real. I could feel my hands shaking. Just say it out loud. Mom's face flushed. That's not what I… You said it an hour ago, to Mrs. Bennett. You called my career Little Freelance Projects. I looked around the room. Most of you heard it. Uncomfortable silence. A few people looked away. That's taken out of context, Mom said, voice tight. Then what's the context for she'll grow out of the art phase, or not like a real job with benefits? Madison stepped forward. Cora, you're being unfair. Mom didn't mean… I know what she meant. I turned to Madison. You know what you meant too, when you said I work from my couch in pajamas. Madison's face went white. Several of her colleagues were watching her now, reassessing. I didn't… Madison started. You did, 30 minutes ago, in the kitchen. Mom's laugh was high, brittle. This is ridiculous. We appreciate everything you've done today, but you're clearly overtired and… I'm done, I said. Done with what? Mom's voice climbed higher. All of it. I pulled the apron over my head. The cooking, the serving, pretending this is normal. Cora. Dad stepped forward. You're upset. Let's talk about this privately. I've tried talking privately. You told me to power through. Because that's what adults do. Mom's composure was cracking. We don't throw tantrums when things get hard. This isn't a tantrum. This is me stating a boundary. A boundary? Madison's voice was sharp. You're abandoning your own family in the middle of a party? I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm declining to continue working for free while being disrespected. The room was frozen. 50 people, witnesses to a family implosion. Aunt Susan, who'd been quiet in the corner, spoke up. Linda, maybe we should… Stay out of this, Susan. Mom's face was red now. Cora, you're embarrassing yourself. Am I, or am I embarrassing you? This is my birthday, Madison said, and her voice broke. You're ruining my birthday. I'm not ruining anything. I made all the food. It's in the kitchen. Anyone can serve it. But you're supposed to… Madison stopped. Supposed to what? Be your caterer? Your maid? That's not what we… Mom started. Then what am I? I looked at each of them. If I'm family, why am I the only one working? If my career matters, why do you laugh about it? If you respect me, why am I in the kitchen while everyone else is out here? No one answered. That's what I thought. I folded the apron, set it on the coffee table. Dessert is in the fridge. Coffee's in the pot. You can handle it from here. I walked toward the door. Cora! Mom's voice was desperate now. If you walk out, don't expect to come back. I stopped, turned. Okay. The silence that followed was absolute. Okay, Mom repeated, like she couldn't comprehend the word. You said don't come back. I'm saying okay. You can't be serious. I'm very serious. I looked at the room full of people. I apologize for the disruption. The food is ready. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Professional. Calm. Exactly how I'd speak to a client. I headed for the door. Cora! Madison's voice cracked. Please, all these people. We'll be fine. You're all adults. You can serve yourselves. But what about… She gestured helplessly at the kitchen. That's no longer my problem. I reached for the door handle. Ice. Dad finally spoke, quiet. Cora, let's be reasonable here. I turned to face him. I've been reasonable for 28 years, Dad. I've been flexible and helpful and available, and it's gotten me to this moment, standing in my own family's house, being told my work isn't real by people who don't even know what I do. My voice stayed steady. So no, I'm done being reasonable. Where will you go? Mom asked. My apartment, the one you said was covered in sketches and fabric samples, like that was something to be embarrassed about. I opened the door. Hayes appeared in my peripheral vision. He didn't say anything, just gave me the smallest nod. Enjoy your party, I said to the room. Happy birthday, Madison. I stepped outside. The cool evening air hit my face. Behind me, I heard Mom. She'll be back. She always comes back. I pulled out my phone, pulled up my email, and sent a reply to Sarah Smith. Monday, 9 a.m. confirmed. Looking forward to signing the contract. Then I got in my car and drove away. For the first time in my life, I didn't look back. Have you ever had to choose between your own self-respect and keeping the peace with your family? That moment when I walked out was the scariest and most freeing thing I'd ever done. I had no idea what would happen next. If you're going through something similar, or if you've ever had to set a hard boundary with people you love, comment boundaries below so we can support each other. And if you want to know what happened after I left, especially about that envelope delivered at 11 p.m., keep watching. What comes next changed everything. I sat in my car for 15 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, engine off. Part of me expected someone to come after me. Madison, Dad, someone. No one did. My phone started buzzing around 7:30. First Madison. Cora, please come back. People are asking about dessert. Then Mom. This is childish, and you're embarrassing the entire family. We will discuss this later. Then Dad. Kiddo, I understand you're upset, but can you please come back and help finish the party? We can talk after. I didn't answer any of them. At 7:45, Aunt Susan texted, Good for you, honey, don't you dare go back tonight. I almost cried reading that. At 8:00, Madison again. Do you know how humiliating this is? Mrs. Patterson asked why you left. What am I supposed to say? I turned my phone to Do Not Disturb and started the car. Aunt Susan texted me the next morning with what had happened after I left. She wrote it all out like a play-by-play. Your mother tried to salvage things, put on a brave face, said you weren't feeling well. But people had heard the argument. They knew. Madison tried to serve dessert herself, dropped a tray, cream everywhere. One of her colleagues helped clean it up, which made it worse somehow. Madison having to accept help for once. Your father made coffee, forgot to put in a filter, grounds in everyone's cup. By 8:30 people were leaving, making excuses about early mornings and babysitters. Mrs. Patterson left without saying goodbye to Madison. And Christopher Hayes. Susan paused here, added 3 dots like she was savoring it. Hayes stayed until the end, talking to your parents. His face was very serious. I read that 3 times. Hayes had stayed, had talked to them. I wondered what he'd said. Aunt Susan called me the next day to fill in the details. You need to hear this, she said. I was in the kitchen cleaning up. Someone had to. And I heard the whole thing. What did Hayes say? Oh, honey, he waited until most people left, just family and a few stragglers. Then he walked right up to your father and said, Bob, we need to talk about your daughter. My heart started pounding. Your dad said, Chris, I'm so sorry about Cora's behavior tonight. She's been under stress. And Hayes cut him off, said, I'm not talking about her behavior. I'm talking about her career. Your parents both froze. And Hayes just kept going, very calm, very professional. He said, I've been negotiating with Cora for the past month about a position with my company. She's the most talented designer I've seen in a decade. What did they say? Your mom asked what kind of position, and Hayes said, Susan paused for effect. He said, $240,000 contract for comprehensive brand development. Plus, we're discussing bringing her on as brand director with a base salary of $180,000. I had to sit down. Your mother's face, Cora. I wish you could have seen it. What did she do? Nothing at first, just stood there. Then she said, Cora never mentioned any of this. And? Hayes looked at her, and I swear it was the coldest professional look I've ever seen, and he said, she tried to. I heard you tell someone her work was a little freelance project she'd grow out of. Dead silence, Susan said. You could have heard a pin drop. Madison tried to explain. We didn't know it was that significant. And Hayes said, you didn't ask. What happened then? I asked. Mrs. Patterson was still there, Susan continued. She'd been putting her coat on by the door, but she stopped when Hayes started talking. And she turned around and said to Madison, you didn't know your sister had secured a 6-figure contract? Oh my God. Madison tried to recover, said something about you being private, keeping things to yourself. And Mrs. Patterson said, and I quote, or perhaps you didn't ask because you'd already decided her work wasn't worth asking about. I could hear the satisfaction in Susan's voice. The 3 other people who were left, people from Madison's firm, they were all listening. One of them said, Meridian Corp is one of the most selective agencies in the region. That's incredibly competitive. Your father finally found his voice. Asked Hayes how long he'd known you were his daughter. Hayes said he'd realized it today, at the party, that he'd come to reconnect with an old friend and discovered that friend's daughter was the brilliant designer he'd been working with. What did Dad say? He said, I had no idea Cora was doing work at that level. And Hayes, God, I loved this. Hayes said, that's because you never asked what level she was working at. You just assumed it was beneath you. He said that? Word for word, in front of everyone. There was a pause. Then Susan added quietly, Mrs. Patterson pulled Madison aside before she left. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught the words judgment and leadership concerns. Madison's face was white. What does that mean? It means, Susan said, that Madison's partnership review just got a lot more complicated. By Sunday afternoon, it was on Facebook. Not from anyone in my family. They would never. But one of the guests, someone I didn't even know, had posted, attended the most uncomfortable party last night, watched a family treat their talented, hard-working daughter like hired help, then act shocked when she finally stood up for herself. Here's a reminder. Just because you don't understand someone's career doesn't mean it isn't valuable, especially when they're literally serving you dinner while managing a 6-figure contract. Do better, people. No names, no photos, but enough detail that anyone who'd been there would know. The post had been shared 247 times by the time I saw it. The comments were brutal. This is why talented people go no contact with their families. I guarantee the parents are the type to brag about her success now. The sister sounds insufferable. Hope the partnership was worth it. Madison called me for the 20th time. I finally answered. Did you see it? Her voice was ragged. I saw it. People from my firm liked it, Cora. My colleagues. They know it's about us. I didn't write it. But you know what people are saying? They're calling me entitled, saying I exploit family labor. She was crying now. Mrs. Patterson emailed me, said we need to meet Monday about leadership concerns. Part of me felt guilty. The part that had been trained to prioritize Madison's feelings over my own needs. But a larger part of me felt nothing at all. I'm sorry that's happening, I said carefully. Are you? Because you walked out knowing this would happen. I walked out because I couldn't stay. What happened after isn't something I controlled. But you could fix it. You could post something, explain. Explain what, Madison? That you didn't mean to treat me like staff? That it was an accident you called my work a joke? Silence. That's what I thought, I said, and hung up. Sunday night, 11:03 p.m., my phone rang. It was Aunt Susan, breathless. You need to hear this. What happened? Someone just knocked on your parents' door, a woman in a business suit, professional, polished. She asked for Linda Clark. Who was it? She said her name was Sarah Smith. She's Christopher Hayes's executive assistant. My heart stopped. She handed your mother an envelope, a formal one, thick paper. Then she said, Mr. Hayes wanted to ensure this was delivered personally tonight. It concerns Ms. Cora Clark. What's in it? I don't know yet. Your mother's still standing in the doorway holding it. She looks terrified. Is it about the contract? Sarah didn't say, just delivered it and started to leave. But then Madison ran to the door and asked what it was about, and Sarah turned back. I was gripping my phone so hard my knuckles were white. Sarah pulled out her tablet and read from it. Very formal, very professional. She said, Mr. Hayes wishes to inform the Clark family that Ms. Cora Clark will begin her position as brand director of Meridian Corporation this Monday. Starting salary is $180,000 annually, plus performance bonuses. Mr. Hayes wanted to ensure the family understands the significance of her role. Oh my God! Your mother actually swayed, like she might faint. Your father had to steady her. What did Sarah say then? She said, Mr. Hayes also wanted me to convey that he was impressed by how Ms. Clark handled herself under pressure. He believes that someone who can set clear boundaries in her personal life will excel at protecting the company's brand integrity. Then she handed over the envelope and left. What was in the envelope? Hold on, they're opening it now. It's the contract, Susan breathed. A copy of the full contract, with a note. What does the note say? Mr. and Mrs. Clark, your daughter is one of the most gifted professionals I've had the privilege to work with. I hope you're as proud of her as I am to have her on my team. Regards, Christopher Hayes. I heard something crash in the background of Susan's call. What was that? Your mother dropped a glass. She's crying. Actually crying. Susan's voice was awed. Madison picked up the contract. She's reading through it. I can see her face. Cora, she's devastated. Why? Because it's real. All of it. The salary, the position, the scope of work. It's not some small freelance gig. It's a major corporate role. Susan paused. Your father just said, she's making more than Madison. What did Madison say? Nothing. She's just staring at the contract. And Mom? She's looking at the note from Hayes, reading it over and over. She keeps saying, we didn't know. We didn't know. They didn't ask, I said quietly. Exactly what Hayes wrote in his note. There's a PS at the bottom. In my experience, the most talented people are often the most underestimated by those closest to them. Perhaps because excellence in unconventional forms makes us question our own assumptions. Susan laughed, sharp and delighted. He's calling them out, professionally, politely, but definitely calling them out. What are they doing now? Your mother's trying to call you. Your phone's ringing? I looked at my screen, Mom's name lighting up. I let it go to voicemail. I need time, I told Susan, before I talk to them. Good, she said firmly. Make them wait. Like they made you wait for 28 years. By Monday morning, I had 53 missed calls. 20 from Mom, 15 from Dad, 18 from Madison. The voicemails ranged from apologetic to defensive to desperate. Mom. Cora, honey, please call me. We need to talk about this. I had no idea about your job, about any of it. Please. Dad. Kiddo, I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. Can we talk? Madison. Cora, Mrs. Patterson postponed my partnership review. She wants to see how I handle family dynamics first. Please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I listened to all of them while getting ready for my 9 a.m. meeting with Hayes. Then I sat down and wrote an email. To all three of them. Subject: Boundaries. I'm not angry with you. I'm hurt, but I'm not angry. I need you to understand the difference. I don't need you to understand my career, but I need you to respect it. I don't need you to be impressed by my success, but I need you to stop dismissing it. For the next 3 months, I won't be attending family gatherings. I need space to build my boundaries and focus on my new role. This isn't punishment, it's self-preservation. When I'm ready to reconnect, we'll do it on neutral ground. Not at your house where I've spent my life being useful. Somewhere where we can talk as equals. I love you, but I love myself more now. And that's not selfish. It's survival. Cora. I sent it before I could second guess myself. Mom's response came in 2 minutes. Cora, please don't shut us out. We're your family. I wrote back. Family is supposed to build you up, not tear you down. I'll be in touch when I'm ready. Then I put my phone on silent, put on my best blazer, and drove to Meridian Corporation to sign my contract. Susan told me later what happened to Madison that Monday. Mrs. Patterson called her in at 8 a.m., before Madison could even set down her briefcase. Sit down, Madison. Madison sat. We need to discuss Saturday night. I can explain. I don't need explanations. I need to understand your judgment. Mrs. Patterson folded her hands on her desk. You treated a six-figure professional like household staff, in front of colleagues, in front of clients. I didn't know about her contract. That's precisely the problem. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You made assumptions about the value of her work based on… what? That it wasn't law? Madison's face went red. It was a family situation. And family situations reveal character. Leadership isn't just about winning cases, Madison. It's about seeing people clearly, valuing different kinds of expertise, understanding that there are multiple paths to success. A long silence. Your partnership review is being postponed 6 months. Madison's face went white. 6 months? You need to demonstrate growth in areas beyond legal skill. Empathy, collaborative thinking, the ability to work with diverse teams that include people who don't fit your narrow definition of success. But the Henderson merger was excellent legal work. No one's questioning your competence as an attorney. Mrs. Patterson's voice softened slightly. But partners represent our firm's values. Right now, you're showing us that you only value what looks like your own path. That's a problem. Madison left the office 10 minutes later. She called me immediately. I didn't answer. She texted, I lost 6 months, 6 months of my career, because of Saturday. I texted back, I lost years of respect from my own family. We're not the same. She didn't respond. The social fallout came quickly. Mom's book club met on Wednesday. She'd been a member for 12 years. Susan heard about it from Margaret, one of the members who'd been at the party. The group leader pulled Mom aside before the meeting started. Linda, we think you should take some time away from book club. Just for a month or two. Why? Mom's voice was small. Several members were uncomfortable with what happened Saturday. The way you spoke about Cora. The assumptions you made. That was private. It was in front of 20 people. And the Facebook post made it public. The leader wasn't unkind, just firm. We think some space would be good. For everyone. Mom came home and cried for an hour. Dad had his own reckoning at the golf club. 2 of his regular partners canceled their Sunday game. The third showed up but spent the entire round talking about how proud he was of his daughter, an artist who'd just gotten her work into a gallery. Some people don't understand that success looks different now, the friend said pointedly. My daughter doesn't make what I made in accounting, but she's happy. She's building something. Dad was quiet the whole drive home. At the grocery store, they ran into the Pattersons. Mrs. Patterson gave a tight smile and kept walking. That was awkward, Dad said. Everyone knows, Mom whispered. The whole neighborhood knows we pushed our own daughter away. We didn't push. We did, Robert. We absolutely did. That night, Dad called me. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Kiddo, I've been thinking a lot about what I said when you were growing up, about real careers and stability. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Call me when you're ready. I saved the voicemail, didn't delete it, but I didn't call back either. Monday at Meridian felt like stepping into a different life. Hayes met me in the lobby personally. Welcome to the team, Cora. Thank you for believing in me. I don't believe in you. I know what you're capable of. He smiled. There's a difference. He walked me to my office, not a cubicle, an actual office, with windows overlooking downtown, my name already on the door. Your team is waiting in the conference room, he said. 12 people. They're excited to work with you. 12 people reporting to me. I was 28 years old, and I had 12 people on my team. The presentation that afternoon went perfectly. The board loved my concept, asked thoughtful questions, approved the full scope of work. One board member stopped me afterward. Ms. Clark, how did you develop such a clear brand voice? I spent a lot of time figuring out what I wanted to say, I told him. And then I learned to say it without apologizing. He smiled. Keep that attitude. At 6 p.m., I returned to my new apartment. One bedroom, downtown, huge windows. I'd signed the lease 2 weeks ago but hadn't told my family, hadn't wanted to deal with the questions, the assumptions, the gentle implications that I couldn't afford it. I could afford it now. My phone buzzed. Aunt Susan. How was day one? I sent back a photo of my office view. She responded immediately. That's my girl. Your mother asked if I'd heard from you. What did you tell her? That you're busy building an empire, which is true. I smiled, set my phone down, and looked out at the city. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. Not because anyone had validated me, because I'd validated myself. 6 weeks later, a letter arrived at my apartment. Handwritten. My mother's careful cursive. Dearest Cora, I've started this letter 17 times. Each time, I want to explain or justify or make excuses. Your father keeps telling me to just apologize and mean it. So here it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't ask about your work. I'm sorry I assumed my understanding of success was the only understanding. I'm sorry I made you feel invisible in your own family. I've been in therapy for 4 weeks now, learning why I valued certain careers over others. It's uncomfortable work, realizing your own biases, seeing how you hurt people you love. Your father and I have both been going. Madison, too. We're not asking you to forgive us. We're not asking you to come back. We just wanted you to know we're trying to understand where we went wrong. If you're ever ready to talk, we'd like to meet. Wherever you're comfortable. Whenever you're ready. We love you. We're proud of you. We should have said both of those things every single day. Mom, I read it 3 times. Part of me wanted to crumple it up, to stay angry, stay distant, make them feel what I'd felt for so many years. But that wasn't who I wanted to be. A week later, I texted Mom. Coffee, public place, 1 hour, next Saturday. She responded in 30 seconds. Yes, thank you. Where? Saturday came. I arrived at the coffee shop first, chose a table by the window. Neutral territory, limited time, my rules. They walked in 10 minutes early, looking nervous. We all sat down. Nobody spoke for a full minute. Then Dad said quietly, "We're really proud of you, kiddo. I should have said that at your college graduation. I'm saying it now." I looked at my parents. Really looked at them. They'd aged in 6 weeks. Or maybe I was just seeing them clearly for the first time. I need to set some rules, I said. If we're going to rebuild this. Anything, Mom said quickly. 1. I won't attend family events where I'm expected to work without being asked first. And I need to be asked, not told. They nodded. 2. My career isn't a topic for jokes or comparisons. What I do is as valid as what Madison does. Of course, Dad said. 3. If anyone crosses these boundaries, I leave. No drama, no explanation. I just go. We understand, Mom whispered. And 4. This rebuilding takes time. I'm not moving back into the family dynamic we had before. That version is gone. Silence. Then Dad reached across the table. stopped just short of my hand. "Can I?" he asked. I nodded. He took my hand. "We don't want the old dynamic back either. It wasn't fair to you. We're learning that now." We talked for an hour, not about the party, about the years before it, the patterns, the assumptions. "I thought I was being supportive," Mom said, "telling you to be creative, to follow your passion. I didn't realize I was also telling you it didn't count as real work." "Words matter," I said, "especially from family." 3 months later, Madison made partner. Her firm threw a celebration dinner. She called me personally to invite me. "No expectations. You don't have to help with anything. I just want you there." I went. We sat together, and she introduced me to her colleagues. "This is my sister Cora. She's the brand director at Meridian Corporation, probably the most talented designer in the region." She said it with genuine pride. We weren't perfect. We still had work to do. But it was a start. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you. Walking away from my family that night was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it taught me that boundaries aren't about being cruel. They're about being honest. If you're struggling with family expectations, with being underestimated, with wondering if you should speak up, I hope this story gives you permission to value yourself. Comment: I see my worth if you're committing to respecting yourself the way I learned to respect myself. And if you want more stories about setting boundaries and finding your voice, check the description for my next video. I'll see you there.